Hello there, it's movie time. Recently I happened to see God's Not Dead 2, and I want to share an insight that you may not have first thought about in this wonderful Christian movie. First, I highly recommend it, and I want to point out how much I agree with the worry and the fears of the movie makers who produced this story of the growing, increasing emboldenedness of the government, especially in schools and courtrooms, in their aggressive attacking of examples of faith in the public square. In this movie, it's a Christian teacher who happens to just share an anecdote about Jesus Christ and how Gandhi received a great deal of his inspiration from one such historical figure named Jesus Christ. On a different level, this movie gave me a new sense of hope because the movie gave me a sense that there is a good example. This is an illustration of a new point of connectedness between Protestants and Catholics. All the characters in this movie, of course, are Protestant Christians. The main pastor is kind of a evangelical blonde Tom Cruise. The teacher on trial is a pretty single woman whose teaching career has left her little time to find a husband. But the point of connectedness between Protestantism and Catholicism is the appreciation of the connectedness between proclaiming your faith in Jesus Christ and redemptive suffering. I doubt even if the producers of this movie would articulate this very important aspect of being a disciple of Jesus Christ. It is so important that I think it could be said that the attraction of this story is an undoing of one of the most fundamental teachings of Martin Luther. One of Martin Luther's fundamental arguments against Catholicism was his justification by faith alone principle. He saw in Catholicism this connection. He was right, of course, in seeing the connection, but he found it too difficult to deal with, and thus he interprets St. Paul's definition of faith to mean our actions, that is, our good works, have nothing to do with our faith. In the fundamental Protestant doctrine, faith alone is an interior act that assures our salvation. It is radically disconnected from works. The Catholic view is that redemptive suffering or redemption is not just having one's sins forgiven, but a participation in a life of grace which gives you the ability to walk in the footsteps of Christ, to be a disciple in the sharing in his redemptive suffering with our neighbors. You cannot but view the actions of this committed Christian teacher in this movie as a participation in the redemptive sufferings from this secularized school. Then her witness becomes an inspiration to others, especially the young. She is anything but an example of the fundamental doctrine, faith alone. After all, she could have recanted several times during her ordeal. She could have held on to her inner faith and simply followed the old maxim, go along to get along. But her faith wouldn't allow her to do nothing. This is not faith alone. It is faith that witnesses. I couldn't help but almost smile inside as the Protestant Christians who produced this movie, as well as all those who will be touched by it, will experience a kind of persecution, that kind of persecution that responds with the spirit of witness that Catholics have known here in America for 200 years. The very existence, after all, of Catholic schools in the United States is directly related to a second-class status Catholics have had in America. We were known as papists who couldn't be loyal to this nation because we were loyal to the Pope. As I watched, the thought occurred to me, the shoe is now on the other foot. Not that Catholics are now persecuting Protestants, but that Protestants are now joined with Catholics in being persecuted for faith in Jesus Christ. Protestant Christianity has now lost control of the government. Catholics never had it. Shouldn't this be a new point of connectedness between us? To do this, my fellow Christian Protestant friends, you need to rethink that fundamentalist doctrine of faith alone. This movie should help you do that. I'm Father Tom Koys. God bless you.